This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Along with my warning to Mormons over the course of these years, over my warnings to America over the course of these years, as I've been warning about how we are under attack by Russia and by those who are helping Russia, such as our president. We're now at a point where we're nearing the end. Not the end of our warfare in the sense of they're going to leave us alone, but in the sense of it's about time for them to attack. On Tuesday is the Holocaust Remembrance Day for the Jews. The next day, that evening, is the sign of which I've identified as an attack. And so I did my previous video that's uploading right now. While I was out running, I remembered The Art of War, and I'm going to quote a couple of passages from it. Nobody else has really put together a war strategy based upon it. There's some guy who has 13 strategies for business to use the art of war, but no, don't follow that. I'm reading from intellectualtakeout.org is where I'm getting these quotes from. 9 famous passages. I'm only going to read a few. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. In war, the way to avoid what is strong. In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. I thought there was another one, but alright. And so, in the art of war, the goal is to it's the victory one. It's in here. I know it is. Now, in war, the victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won. And whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. The main strategies in the art of war can be summarized into different stages of advancement. In order to win the battle before the battle even begins, you first have to send in spies into your enemy's camp, or civilization if you're going for the populace, such as America, rather than going up against American military. You need to send in spies to know your enemy and to divide your enemy according to the division of your enemy. For example, Democrats versus Republicans. You make it a dichotomous division, making two camps. You're either for us or you're against us. And the enemy does that within their enemy. And that's the first strategy, is to infiltrate and cause a division. The manner in which the division is caused is by propaganda, deceptions, misinformation, disinformation. And you have the enemy pretending to be their enemy, wolves in sheep's clothing. Then once you've caused a division, you need to then weaken your enemy without attack. There are several ways of doing that. Natural disasters, famines, viruses, civil war, if you can cause it, where the people fight amongst themselves. You need them weakened before you come in, knowing that the victory is won. And once you get the people weakened, ravaged, then you can come in and destroy them and conquer, capture. And so when we look at America, there have been many waves of attacks on America. But with our latest presidency, we saw in the campaign that initial infiltration that was multi-pronged attack of misinformation and disinformation. People who were Americans betrayed America, selling our data on Facebook to Russia, who then waged an advertising warfare of misinformation and disinformation. You had the scandal of the emails, which turned into nothing, but it worked for the misinformation campaign. It caused a division that we have not had to such an extreme since the Bush-Gore election. And it turned violent as white supremacy skyrocketed in escalation, and a new organization calling them Antifa, anti-fascists, emerged to control the fascist uprising of white supremacy. And of course Trump silenced the anti-fascists rather than the fascists. And so the FBI is struggling to control the fascist violence that has swept across our nation. And we're constantly given misinformation and disinformation, even by our executive, especially by our executive, as we were betrayed. Secret communications were being passed to our enemies in other nations, and we had infiltrators here in America along with American betrayers. And the anti-vaccination movement was part of the misinformation campaign that succeeded. It got people to stop giving their kids measles shots, and that resulted in a measles outbreak when we had had a shot to prevent measles, eradicate measles. But the anti-vaxxer movement stepped in, caused a disturbance, got people to believe in them, and people ended up dying from measles. And having succeeded with that, they were ready to move on to the next phase of weakening America as coronavirus. And now that we're weakened as a nation, as we are the number one nation in the world with the most cases, with the most deaths now, we're weakened. We're still under isolation, as we're calling it social distancing. They've divided us, and they're using social distancing, which is division, to divide us, as we all not only are in two camps now, we're weakened so that we're all isolated, separated from everybody. We're in our own homes, and we are the most vulnerable right now at this time, and it's not going to get better. And so the question is, when will we be under physical attack? When will our enemy finally say, you know, I think they're weak enough that we will conquer by going in? And when you have a president who's helping, doesn't help us. and the number of people that are unemployed, we're ripe for destruction. And as I'm an LDS critic, yes, the Book of Mormon warned us of this. They warned us exactly of this attack planned for America. And so if it's this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know. I know those are signs, but does our enemy know those signs as well? And is that part of their plan? I know Putin is celebrating Labor Day, Victory Day in Russia this year, the conquering of America. They cheered when they elected Trump. They cheered when Trump was acquitted. They believe they've conquered America. Except we're not conquered yet. And so they've got one more cheer coming, and that's on May 1st. A celebration of celebrations. And 2 weeks. less than 2 weeks now, and we got May 1st. And you don't want a long You don't want a long battle. Nobody wants a long battle. That's a bad strategy. You need to know you've won, so that the battle is quick. And so, with the weaponry that we have now, missiles could easily be used to start the attack. That prevents their soldiers from being used and would weaken us, like Pearl Harbor. Except for they use kamikazes. The only drawback in that, but it worked. And they could have proceeded on, but that's all that they intended to do, as we found out that our president was involved in that as well. And so we are looking literally at a Pearl Harbor type attack soon. A 9/11 attack soon. As 9/11 was also caused by our president at that time too. Seeing a pattern here? Presidents causing attacks on America so that we can get involved in a war. Pearl Harbor so that we can get involved in World War II. 9/11 so that we can cause a war against Muslims. And this one, World War III, the apocalypse. So, expect something soon, because all the stages have been met. We've been infiltrated, we've been misinformed and disinformed, we've been divided, and we've been weakened. And we're at the point where we're almost ready for an attack. Our food supplies are low. We're separated with the virus so that we can't group together. And people are unemployed, so they've got no further income coming in. Yeah, that's ripe for an attack. So, I guess this other video should be done. Yeah. So this is just a warning, guys. No criticism of the church, of the presidents, yes. Nelson should be, because he betrayed us. Nelson betrayed us. He closed down the storehouses. Helped us to become weak by shutting down the storehouses. And so Nelson is a part of the destruction and future attack on America. Nelson has played a part in that, as he hoards hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. So, be careful, be safe, be alert. Because it takes 15 to 20 minutes for missiles launched from the east coast of Asia to get to America, if that's where they're coming from.